The subway platform was a furnace. 15-year-old Maya Patel's sneakers pounded against cracked pavement as she ran through Brooklyn at 11:47 p.m. Not away from something, but toward the only thing keeping her family alive. The insulated medical bag bouncing on her back contained insulin worth $847, her little brother's 2-month supply. She had exactly 13 minutes to deliver it before the pharmacy's emergency window closed. 13 minutes, or her brother Arjun would wake up tomorrow with nothing. Then she heard the scream. A woman's voice, raw with terror, cut through the humid night air. Maya skidded to a stop, her phone already buzzing with the final warning. 12 minutes remaining. After midnight, all emergency orders are canceled. No refunds. No exceptions. She looked left, toward the pharmacy's distant lights. Looked right toward the screaming. And saw her. A pregnant woman collapsed against a graffiti-covered wall, clutching her stomach, water pooling beneath her. Alone. In labor. On a street where calling 911 meant waiting 45 minutes if they came at all. Maya's phone buzzed again. 11 minutes. Her brother's face flashed in her mind. The way his hands shook during low blood sugar episodes. The way her mother cried when she checked their bank account. The way they'd already buried their father because they couldn't afford his medication. 11 minutes to save her brother, or 11 seconds to save a stranger's baby. Maya dropped the medical bag against a dumpster, fell to her knees beside the woman, and said the words that would change her life. "I'm here. I've got you. Breathe with me." She didn't know the woman's name was Dr. Sarah Chun. She didn't know Sarah was the chief surgeon at Brooklyn Memorial. She didn't know that in 96 hours, the woman whose baby she was about to deliver on a Brooklyn sidewalk would knock on Maya's door and offer her something worth more than money. All Maya knew was that someone was dying, and nobody else was going to help. Maya's hand shook as she pulled off her jacket, spread it beneath the woman who was now screaming with contractions that came every 30 seconds. She'd never delivered a baby, never even seen it done, except in the health class videos everyone made fun of. But her father had been a nurse before the heart attack took him, and before he died, he taught Maya everything he could: how to stay calm when everyone else panicked, how to read vital signs, how to be the person who steps forward when everyone else steps back. "What's your name?" Maya asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Sarah." The woman gasped, her face contorted with pain. "The baby's coming. Too early. 23 weeks. Oh God, it's too early." Maya's blood went cold. 23 weeks. That was barely viable. This baby needed a NICU, specialists, equipment she didn't have. Her phone buzzed. 9 minutes. "Sarah, listen to me," Maya said, gripping the woman's hand. "I need you to focus on breathing. Can you do that? In through your nose, out through your mouth." "Who are you?" Sarah's eyes were wide with terror and pain. "Are you a doctor?" "I'm 15, Maya replied honestly. "But my dad was a nurse, and he taught me some things. And right now, I'm all you've got." Another contraction hit. Sarah screamed, her nails digging into Maya's arm hard enough to draw blood. Maya pulled out her phone with her free hand, searched for premature birth emergency delivery, found a medical site with step-by-step instructions. Her screen was smeared with someone's blood. Hers or Sarah's. She wasn't sure, but she could still read. 7 minutes. "Maya." Her brother's voice crackled through her phone's speaker. She'd but dialed him during the chaos. "Maya, where are you?" "The pharmacy closes in." "Arjun, I can't talk right now." "You promised." His voice cracked with fear and anger. "You promised you'd get tonight." "Mom's crying. She thinks I'm going to." Maya's throat closed. "I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." She ended the call, turned the phone face down, focused on Sarah. The baby came 11:53 p.m., 7 minutes after the pharmacy window closed. 7 minutes after Maya's last chance to save her brother evaporated. The infant was impossibly tiny, barely the size of Maya's hand, not crying, not moving, lips already turning blue. "No," Sarah sobbed. "No, no, no, please." Maya remembered her father's voice. "When they're not breathing, you breathe for them." She cleared the baby's airway with her finger, tilted the tiny head back, covered the nose and mouth with her own lips, and gave the gentlest breath she could manage. Waited. Another breath. Waited. The baby girl gasped, coughed, released a thin, reedy cry that was the most beautiful sound Maya had ever heard. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had finally called 911. Maya wrapped the baby in her jacket, placed her against Sarah's chest, and held them both as the ambulance lights painted everything red and blue. The paramedics arrived, took over with professional efficiency, loaded Sarah and the baby onto a gurney. "You saved them," one of the EMTs said to Maya. "That was incredible. What's your name?" But Maya was already walking away, picking up the medical bag that was now useless, pulling out her phone to see 17 missed calls from her mother and a single text message that made her knees buckle. Emergency order #BK 47829 canceled due to missed delivery window. Your account has been suspended. Payment of $847 has been processed and is non-refundable. Gone. 2 months of insulin. Money her mother had borrowed from loan sharks who didn't care about payment plans or sob stories. Maya sat down on the curb, the medical bag empty in her lap, and let herself cry for exactly 60 seconds. Then she stood up, straightened her shoulders, and walked toward the subway that would take her home to face her mother's devastation and her brother's fear. She didn't leave her name with the paramedics, didn't wait for gratitude, didn't even think about what she might be owed. Because Maya Patel had learned something in her 15 years. People like her didn't get thanked. They got forgotten. What she didn't know was that Dr. Sarah Chun had been conscious enough to memorize Maya's face. That hospital security footage was already being pulled. That the surgeon whose baby Maya had saved on a Brooklyn sidewalk was about to tear the city apart to find her. And that when Sarah Chun finally knocked on Maya's door, she wouldn't be carrying a check. If you've ever sacrificed everything and gotten nothing in return, this story is for you. Hit like. It costs you nothing, but it tells me you're still here. 18 minutes earlier, Maya's biggest problem had been a broken subway turnstile. She'd been racing through Brooklyn on her father's old bicycle, the one with the squeaky chain and the seat held together with duct tape. The medical bag strapped across her back contained insulin that cost more than her family's monthly rent. The pharmacy app showed 31 minutes remaining. 31 minutes to cover 12 blocks and deliver her brother's medication before the emergency window closed at midnight. She could make it. She always made it. At 15, Maya Patel knew Brooklyn streets better than the GPS on her cracked phone. She knew which bodegas let you cut through their back rooms, which alleys connected to which streets, which traffic lights stayed red longest. She knew because she had to know. Because 3 years ago, her father collapsed during his nursing shift at Brooklyn Memorial. Heart attack. Dead before the ambulance arrived. The hospital sent flowers and a bill for $47,000. Her mother took 3 jobs: daycare worker by morning, grocery stocker by afternoon, hotel housekeeper by night. Arjun, Maya's 11-year-old brother, was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes 6 months after their father died. The medication cost more than they could possibly afford. But Maya had found a solution. Emergency courier jobs that paid $200 per delivery if you made the deadline and nothing if you didn't. $200. That was a week of groceries. Electricity for a month. Keep Arjun alive money. The light turned red. Maya calculated the risk. Run it and save 90 seconds, or wait and potentially miss the window. She waited. Last month, a delivery kid from her school had been hit by a taxi running a red light. Broken pelvis, medical debt that would follow him forever. Maya couldn't afford to be that kid. Her family needed her functional. The light turned green. She pushed off, legs pumping. Then her phone rang. Her mother's ringtone, the one that meant emergency. Maya. Her mother's voice was thin with panic. "Where are you?" 28 minutes from the pharmacy, Ma. I'm going to make it. The loan sharks came by again. They're saying if we don't pay by Friday, they're going to. Her mother's voice broke. Baby, they said things. Terrible things about what they'll do. Maya's stomach twisted. The loan sharks had fronted the money for Arjun's insulin last month, at 40% interest. Money they had no way to pay back. I know, Ma. I'm handling it. That's when the sky opened up. Not rain. A downpour. A biblical flood that turned the streets into rivers within seconds. Maya's brakes started slipping. Her visibility dropped to almost nothing. And then she heard the scream. The rest happened the way it happened. The choice. The delivery on a sidewalk. The tiny baby who wasn't breathing. The 60-second cry that proved she was alive. The pharmacy window closing at midnight. The canceled order. The non-refundable $847. Now Maya stood outside her family's apartment in the projects, water dripping from her clothes onto the hallway floor, staring at the door she had to walk through. Inside, she could hear her mother's voice, soft, rhythmic, the way she talked to Arjun when his blood sugar dropped. Lying to him, telling him everything would be okay. Maya reached for the doorknob, then stopped. A notice was taped to the door. Bright orange paper, impossible to miss. Notice of eviction, 72 hours to vacate. Failure to comply will result in removal by marshal. Maya read it 3 times, hoping the words would change. They didn't. 3 days. They had 3 days to come up with 5 months of back rent, or they were out. Her hand shook as she unlocked the door. The apartment was dark except for the blue glow of the TV and the medical alert bracelet on Arjun's wrist that blinked red when his glucose levels were wrong. He was asleep on the couch, his small chest rising and falling with breaths that cost $847 every 2 months. Maya's mother sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by bills, electric, water, medical, insurance denials, collection agency threats, loan shark demands. She looked up when Maya entered, saw her daughter's face, knew immediately. You didn't get it. Ma, tell me you got the insulin, Maya. Please tell me you got it. There was a woman. She was having a baby, right there on the street. Nobody would help. So you helped. Her mother's voice rose. You helped a stranger instead of your brother? She was dying. The baby was dying. I couldn't just. Arjun is dying. Her mother stood up, tears streaming down her face. Your brother. Your actual blood. And you chose someone else. The words hit like a slap. I had to, Maya whispered. You had to. Her mother laughed, a broken sound with no humor in it. The loan sharks come back Friday. We have no insulin. We have no rent. We have nothing. And you had to save a stranger. Maya had no answer. Because her mother was right. She'd sacrificed her family for someone she didn't know. She'd made the choice her father would have made. The choice that had gotten him killed working double shifts to pay for strangers' health care. Get out, her mother said quietly. Ma, get out of my sight before I say something I can't take back. Maya turned and walked back in the hallway, slid down the wall until she sat on the floor outside her own apartment, staring at the eviction notice. She pulled out her phone, opened the job apps. Maybe another courier service would take her. Maybe she could find something else. But every app wanted you to be 18. Every legitimate job required documents she didn't have, references she couldn't provide. The system wasn't built for kids like her. Maya put her head on her knees and let herself cry. She didn't know that 12 blocks away, Dr. Sarah Chan was demanding that hospital security find the girl who saved my daughter's life. She didn't know that hospital cameras had captured Maya's face, grainy but identifiable. She didn't know that by morning, a team of investigators would be canvassing the neighborhood, showing Maya's picture to every bodega owner and street vendor in Brooklyn. All Maya knew was that the eviction notice was taped to her door, her brother was out of insulin, and the world had kicked her while she was down, the same way it always did. But she wasn't done fighting. Not yet. Sometimes the hardest thing about being young is carrying grown-up problems with hands that still haven't finished growing. If that hits somewhere real, subscribe. This story needs witnesses. Maya is drowning. But someone powerful is about to go looking for the girl who delivered her baby on a Brooklyn sidewalk. Chapter 2 shows you what happens when a surgeon decides to find one invisible teenager in a city of 8 million people. Dr. Sarah Chun hadn't slept in 42 hours. She sat in the NICU at Brooklyn Memorial, watching her daughter, impossibly tiny, impossibly alive, breathe with the help of machines that cost more per day than most people made in a month. The doctors had said it was a miracle. 23 weeks. Less than 2 pounds. A survival rate of maybe 30%. But alive. Breathing. Fighting. Because a 15-year-old girl had known what to do when Sarah's own body was betraying her. Sarah replayed her memory of that night for the 100th time. The sudden pain that had dropped her to her knees on a Brooklyn street at 11:45 p.m. after a 16-hour surgery shift. The water breaking. The absolute terror of realizing she was having her baby months too early, alone, in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the city. And then the girl. Young, maybe 15, soaking wet from the rain. Dark eyes that looked far too old for her age. Hands that shook but moved with purpose. I'm here. I've got you. Breathe with me. Sarah remembered the girl's face. South Asian features, long black hair and a practical braid. clothes that had seen better years. She remembered the medical bag the girl had abandoned against the dumpster to help her. Remembered the way the girl had performed infant CPR with textbook precision, like she'd been trained by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. And then the girl had disappeared before Sarah could even ask her name. Dr. Chun. A nurse appeared in the doorway of the NICU. There's someone here to see you. Says it's urgent. Sarah forced herself to stand, to walk away from her daughter's incubator, to function like the chief surgeon she was instead of the terrified mother she'd become. The visitor was Martin Rodriguez, head of hospital security. Dr. Chun, I pulled the security footage from the ambulance bay like you requested. He handed her a tablet. The girl who helped you, she's here. The footage was grainy, typical surveillance quality. But Sarah could make out the essentials. A teenager, South Asian, wearing a soaked hoodie with something written on the back. She'd stayed for maybe 3 minutes after the ambulance arrived, then walked away carrying an empty medical bag. Can you enhance this? Sarah asked, pointing to the writing on the hoodie. Martin tapped the screen, zoomed in. The image pixelated, but became readable. Brooklyn Medical Courier, we deliver life. That's a courier service, Martin said. Small operation. They handle emergency medical deliveries. Insulin, EpiPens, that kind of thing. Sarah felt pieces clicking together. The medical bag. The precision of the girl's movements. The way she'd known exactly what to do. I need you to contact that company, Sarah said. Find out who was working the night shift 3 nights ago. And get me her name. Dr. Chun, there are privacy concerns. My daughter is alive because of that girl. Sarah's voice went cold in the way that made surgical residents scatter. Find her. Today. Within 2 hours, Martin was back with information that made Sarah's heart sink. The courier company says an employee named Maya Patel was working that night. 15 years old, student at Brooklyn Tech. She was making an emergency insulin delivery when Martin paused. When she apparently abandoned the delivery to help you. The company terminated her employment immediately. Withheld her $200 delivery payment. Blacklisted her from their platform. Sarah felt like she'd been punched. She lost her job, saving my life. It gets worse. Martin handed her another document. I did some background research. Maya's father was a nurse here at Brooklyn Memorial. Died 3 years ago during his shift, heart attack. The family has significant medical debt. Her 11-year-old brother has type 1 diabetes. The insulin delivery she was carrying that night, it was for him. Sarah closed her eyes. The girl hadn't just sacrificed a paycheck. She'd sacrificed her brother's medication to save a stranger's baby. Where does she live? Marcy Houses. Public housing in Bedford-Stuyvesant. Martin hesitated. Dr. Chun, there's one more thing. The family received an eviction notice 2 days ago. They have 48 hours to vacate. Sarah stood up, her exhaustion forgotten. Get my car. And find out what hospital administration building the family is in debt to. I want every bill pulled. Every collection notice. Every piece of paper with Maya Patel's name on it. Dr. Chun, that girl saved my daughter's life, Sarah said quietly. And the system punished her for it. I'm going to fix that. Today, while Sarah Chun mobilized her resources, Maya Patel was standing in a pawn shop in Brownsville. The store smelled like desperation and broken promises. Glass cases lined the walls, filled with other people's surrendered treasures. Wedding rings, guitars, electronics, the accumulated debris of lives that had run out of options. Maya's father's watch sat on the counter. It wasn't fancy, a Timex with a leather band worn soft from years of wear. But it was the last thing she had of his. $50, the guy behind the counter said, not looking up from his phone. It's worth at least $200. It's vintage. $50. Take it or leave it. Maya thought about her brother's insulin. The dosage he needed for the week cost $180 at the black market pharmacy that didn't ask questions or check IDs. 50 wasn't enough. 100, Maya tried. Please. It's all I have left of my dad. The guy finally looked up, saw her age, saw her desperation, and smiled in a way that made Maya's skin crawl. 50. But if you want to make some real money, I know some people who are always looking for young girls. Maya grabbed the watch and ran. She made it 3 blocks before she had to stop, bent over with her hands on her knees, trying not to vomit from rage and fear and exhaustion. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. Arjun's blood sugar is 340. He's shaking. We need the insulin now. Maya pulled up her banking app, $23.47. That was it. That was all that stood between her brother and a diabetic coma. She opened every gig app on her phone: grocery delivery, dog walking, tutoring, babysitting. Nothing that paid enough. Nothing that didn't require her to be 18. Another text from her mother. "Where are you?" Maya started walking toward home, her father's watch still clutched in her fist, with no idea how she was going to save her brother or her family or herself. She didn't know that 6 blocks away, a black Mercedes was pulling up to Marcy houses. She didn't know that Dr. Sarachon had spent the morning calling in every favor she'd accumulated in 20 years as a surgeon. She didn't know that her world was about to change. Two worlds are about to collide. A surgeon with unlimited resources searching for answers. A 15-year-old with nothing holding her family together with both hands. If you've ever felt the weight of carrying more than you should, this story sees you. Like it? Let me know I'm not alone in telling it. Sarah is getting close. Maya is running out of time. And when that knock finally comes, everything changes. The black Mercedes looked like a spaceship that had crash-landed in the wrong galaxy. It rolled through the Marcy houses at 2:47 p.m., moving slowly enough that every eye on the block tracked its progress. Tinted windows, hospital parking permit on the dash, the kind of vehicle that only showed up when someone was dying or someone was getting evicted. On the corner, 3 old women playing dominoes stopped mid-game to watch. In the courtyard, a group of teenagers lowered their basketball and went silent. Behind every window, curtains twitched. The Mercedes stopped in front of Building D. Maya was in apartment 4D, doing homework at the kitchen table, trying to focus on algebra, while her mother worked a shift at the grocery store, and her brother lay on the couch with blood sugar levels that made her stomach hurt with worry. When she heard the commotion outside, she crossed the window and looked down. A woman stepped out of the Mercedes like she was stepping onto a stage. Professional dress, dark hair pulled back, moving with the confidence of someone accustomed to being listened to. She looked around at the project towers, at the broken playground equipment, at the graffiti on the walls. Not with disgust, Maya noticed, but with determination. Behind her, a large man in a security uniform moved to follow. The woman held up a hand, stopped him, said something that made him frown, but stay by the car. Then Dr. Sarachon walked toward Building D alone. Maya's heart started hammering. It couldn't be. There was no way. But even as denial ran through her head, deeper instinct was already connecting dots. The woman in labor on the sidewalk. The baby who wasn't breathing. The way the paramedics had treated Sarah like she was important. That was her. The woman whose baby Maya had delivered. And she was here. "Arjun," Maya called to her brother. "I need you to go to your room." "Why? What's happening?" "Just do it. Please." There was a knock at the door. 3 knocks. Firm. Patient. Maya crossed to the door, her hand hovering over the knob. She could run, hide, pretend no one was home. Then she thought about the eviction notice. About Arjun shaking hands. About having literally nothing left to lose. She opened the door. Dr. Sarachon was shorter up close. Her eyes were tired but sharp, assessing, and there was something in them Maya hadn't expected. Gratitude mixed with determination. "Maya Patel, not a question." "Yes, ma'am. I'm Dr. Sarachon. I believe you saved my daughter's life 4 nights ago." The words hung in the hallway like smoke. "Is she okay?" Maya asked immediately. "The baby, is she alive?" Sarah's expression softened. "She's alive. Fighting. In the NICU at Brooklyn Memorial. 23 weeks old, and already the strongest person I know." She paused. "Because of you." Maya didn't know what to say. Behind her, she heard Arjun's door crack open. He was listening. "May I come in?" Sarah asked. Maya stepped aside. Sarah entered the apartment slowly, taking in the cramped space. The medical alert equipment in the corner, the stack of bills on the table, the worn furniture, the careful poverty that tried to maintain dignity despite everything. "Where's your mother?" "Working. She works 3 jobs." Sarah nodded like she'd expected that answer. "I've done some research. Your father was a nurse at Brooklyn Memorial. He died during his shift 3 years ago." Maya's throat tightened. "Heart attack. He was 42. And now you're 15 years old, caring for a diabetic brother, helping your mother stay afloat." Sarah's voice was gentle but direct. "The night you helped me, you were delivering your brother's insulin. You missed the pharmacy deadline because you stopped to help me. How did you?" "I'm a surgeon, Maya. I have resources, and I use them when it matters." Sarah pulled out a folder. I've also pulled your school records. Straight A's despite missing significant class time. Top scores in biology, chemistry, anatomy. Your teachers say you have medical intuition they rarely see in students. Maya felt exposed. Seen. It was terrifying and thrilling in equal measure. What do you want? Maya asked. Sarah sat down at the kitchen table, gestured for Maya to join her. I want to make you an offer. Not charity. Not a handout. An opportunity. Maya sat, her mind racing. You're planning to apply to medical school someday, aren't you? Sarah asked. I can't afford college. That's not what I asked. Maya looked at her hands. My dad wanted me to be a doctor. He used to say I had the gift, the ability to see what others miss, to stay calm when everyone else panics. Her voice cracked. But he died because we couldn't afford his health care. And now I'm watching my brother slowly die for the same reason. So yeah, I wanted to be a doctor. But wanting doesn't change reality. Sarah opened her folder. Here's a new reality. I'm offering you a position in Brooklyn Memorial's high school medical internship program. It's designed for exceptional students from underserved communities who show aptitude for medicine. Maya stared at her. I'm 15. I'm aware. The program accepts students starting at 15. You'd work at the hospital 20 hours a week, after school, weekends, whatever schedule works with your education. You'd shadow doctors, learn procedures, get hands-on experience that most students don't see until medical school. Sarah pulled out another document. The program pays $25 per hour. That's $500 per week. $2,000 per month. Enough to cover your brother's insulin with money left over. Maya couldn't breathe, couldn't process the numbers. But more importantly, Sarah continued, the program guarantees full scholarship to any pre-med undergraduate program for students who complete it successfully. And after that, medical school scholarships, residency placement support, everything you need. Why? Maya whispered. Why would you do this? Sarah leaned forward. Because you did something 4 nights ago that most trained medical professionals wouldn't have been able to do. You delivered a 23-week premature baby on a sidewalk in the rain using nothing but muscle memory and instinct. You performed infant CPR that saved her life. She paused. And you did it knowing it would cost you everything. That's not just medical skill, Maya. That's the kind of character that makes exceptional doctors. Maya felt tears burning in her eyes. What about the eviction? The hospital bills for my dad? The loan sharks my mom borrowed from? Sarah's expression hardened. I've already spoken with hospital administration. Your father's medical debt has been forgiven. All of it. The hospital should have covered his treatment from the start. It was an on-duty incident. She pulled out another paper. As for the eviction, I've arranged for 6 months of rent to be paid in advance. Consider it a signing bonus for accepting the internship position. Maya couldn't speak, couldn't move. And regarding the loan sharks, Sarah's voice went cold. I've contacted the district attorney's office. Predatory lending targeting families with medical emergencies is illegal. They'll be investigated. Maya finally found her voice. This is too much. There has to be a catch. No catch. Just expectations. Sarah met her eyes. I expect you to work harder than you've ever worked. I expect you to show up on time, study constantly, and push yourself beyond what you think is possible. I expect you to become the kind of doctor who stops for people bleeding on sidewalks, the kind who remembers that every patient is someone's daughter, someone's brother, someone's whole world. She stood up. I expect you to be excellent, Maya, because you already are. You just need someone to give you the chance to prove it. Maya looked at the folder on the table, at the internship agreement, at the numbers that represented more money than her family had seen in years. She thought about her father, who died trying to save others. She thought about the baby girl who was alive because Maya had made an impossible choice. She thought about Arjun in the next room, listening to every word, waiting to see if his sister could save them one more time. When do I start? Maya asked. Sarah Chin smiled. Tomorrow. 6 a.m. Emergency department. Don't be late. Life doesn't always reward good people. But sometimes, just sometimes, it sends a right person knocking at exactly the right time. If you believe that sacrifice should come back around, hit subscribe. Be here for what Maya builds next. Maya said yes. But the hardest part isn't getting the chance. It's surviving the people who don't want you to have it. Chapter 4 takes her into a world that wasn't built for her. Will she sink or swim? Brooklyn Memorial Hospital looked like a building designed to intimidate. 12 floors of concrete and glass rising from the East New York landscape, its facade a mixture of modern renovations and 1970s institutional brutalism. Maya pressed her face against the bus window as she approached at 5:47 a.m., trying to memorize every detail, trying to prepare herself for whatever was coming. Her scrubs didn't fit right. They were new. Sarah had sent them with a note. Professional appearance matters. First impressions matter more. But the pants were slightly too long and the top was too loose in the shoulders. Maya looked like a kid playing dress-up in her parents' clothes, which she supposed she was. The hospital lobby at 6 a.m. was organized chaos. Nurses rushing between wings. Doctors consulting over tablets. Security guards watching everyone with tired suspicion. Maya approached the information desk. Her ID badge, Maya Patel, medical intern, hanging around her neck like both a credential and a target. High school intern program, she told the woman at the desk. I'm supposed to report to Dr. Chen. The woman's eyes flicked to Maya's age on her badge, then back to her face. Emergency department. 3rd floor. Elevators are to your left. The elevator ride felt like ascending to judgment. The 3rd floor opened onto a space that smelled like disinfectant, blood, and desperation. The emergency department was a maze of curtained bays, each containing someone's worst day. Maya spotted the other interns immediately, clustered near a nurse's station, all of them at least 3 years older, all of them wearing scrubs that actually fit. They spotted her too. Oh, this is going to be rich, a voice said. It belonged to a tall guy, maybe 19, with perfectly styled hair and the relaxed posture of someone who'd never doubted his place anywhere. You must be the charity case. His name tag read, Kevin Morrison, medical intern, Cornell PREMED. Maya Patel, she replied, keeping her voice steady. Right. The girl from the news. Kevin's smile sharpened. Dr. Chen's little pet project. Tell me, do they teach basic anatomy at whatever public school you came from? Or should we start with this as a stethoscope? A few of the other interns laughed. Not all of them. Maya caught a couple of uncomfortable glances, people who looked away. But enough. I know what a stethoscope is, Maya said quietly. Wonderful. Kevin gestured toward a supply closet. Then you won't have any trouble with your first assignment. Inventory and restocking. Very entry-level, very much your speed. We need all medical supplies counted, logged, and restocked by end of shift. Maya looked at the closet, which appeared to contain approximately 10,000 items. Then she looked at Kevin. Then at the other interns who were being handed tablets and assignments to shadow actual doctors. They were trying to make her quit. It was so obvious it was almost insulting. Give the poor kid the most menial work possible. Make her feel like hired help instead of medical intern. Wait for her to realize she didn't belong and slink back to whatever public housing she came from. Maya thought about her mother working 3 jobs. About Arjun's insulin sitting in their new refrigerator, paid for by the internship salary Maya couldn't afford to lose. About the promise she'd made to her father's memory. Where do I start? She asked. Kevin's smile flickered. He'd expected an argument, a complaint, some show of wounded pride. 3rd shelf, alphabetical order, he said finally. Try not to break anything. Maya opened the supply closet and got to work. She counted supplies for 9 hours straight. Gauze, tape, syringes for bags, medications, equipment. Everything logged into a spreadsheet on a donated tablet that kept freezing because it was 3 years old. By hour 3, her eyes burned. By hour 6, her back screamed. By hour 9, she'd spoken exactly 15 words to people who weren't giving her orders. But she'd also noticed something. The inventory system was wrong. Not just disorganized. Actively, dangerously wrong. It took her 5 hours to be sure. Critical supplies were miscategorized. High-use items were understocked. Expensive equipment was overbought while cheap essentials ran out constantly. The system was creating cascading failures that probably cost the hospital thousands of dollars while putting patients at risk. Maya started a second spreadsheet. This one tracked patterns, supply usage rates, reorder frequencies, waste from expiration. She timed how long it took staff to find items. She noted which supplies lived in the wrong categories. The numbers were damning. Brooklyn Memorial's emergency department was hemorrhaging efficiency, not through negligence, but through a system that had never been properly designed. and Maya was pretty sure she knew how to fix it. On day 2, she did the same work. Day 3, day 4. Kevin made comments every morning. The other interns learned to ignore her, which was somehow worse than mocking her. She ate lunch alone in a stairwell because the cafeteria felt like enemy territory. But every day, Maya watched, learned, cataloged. She started tracking everything in a composition notebook: supply flows, usage patterns, emergency response times. She sketched diagrams of how equipment moved through the department, identifying bottlenecks and redundancies. The hospital supply chain wasn't just broken in the emergency department. It was broken everywhere: surgery, ICU, pediatrics. Every floor suffered from the same fundamental design flaws, and nobody seemed to notice or care. On day 8, Kevin cornered her by the elevator. "Still here," he said, leaning against the wall to block her path. "I figured you'd have quit by now. Run back to your project and your food stamps." "I don't quit," Maya replied. "Everyone quits eventually." Kevin's eyes hardened. "Let me explain reality to you, Patel. This internship is competitive. 5 of us are here. 2 of us get recommendations for medical school. 2 of us get futures." He leaned closer. "And it's not going to be the kid who counts gauze." Maya met his gaze without flinching. "Maybe not, but at least I earned my spot here." The words landed exactly where she intended. Kevin's face flushed red, the look of someone who'd been handed everything and hated being reminded of it. "Watch yourself," Kevin said quietly. "This isn't your world. You don't know the rules. And Dr. Chin won't protect you forever." Maya pushed past him, heart hammering but hands steady. She didn't know the rules, but she was learning them fast, and she was keeping score. Some rooms aren't designed for you. You walk in anyway. You do the work. You take the notes. You wait for your moment. If you've ever been underestimated, you know exactly why Maya keeps going. Hit like. Stand with her. They try to bury her in busy work. They didn't realize she was taking notes. And what she's building in that composition notebook is about to change everything. 3 weeks in her internship, Maya had mapped Brooklyn Memorial's entire supply chain. Not officially. Nobody had asked her to, and nobody would have listened if she'd volunteered. But between inventory counts, during lunch breaks, in quiet hours before the morning shift arrived, and after the evening shift left, Maya watched. She tracked how supplies moved through the hospital, the bottlenecks, the redundancies, the places where efficiency went to die. And she documented everything. 43 pages of notes, handwritten in a composition notebook she kept in her backpack. Diagrams, flowcharts, time motion studies she'd learned about from YouTube videos on hospital management. The picture that emerged was devastating. Brooklyn Memorial was losing approximately 18% of its operational budget to supply chain inefficiencies. Not theft. Nobody was stealing. The problem was design. Supplies that took 4 days to move between floors. Equipment that got lost in the system and had to be reordered. Critical items that ran out during emergencies because nobody tracked usage patterns properly. 18%. On a hospital this size, that was tens of millions of dollars. Maya ran the numbers 6 times, convinced she'd made an error. She hadn't. The question was what to do about it. Going to Kevin was out of the question. He'd either steal the idea or bury it. The other interns wouldn't listen to a 15-year-old supply clerk. And Maya had learned enough about hospital hierarchy to know that jumping straight to Dr. Chun would make her look naive or worse, presumptuous. She needed proof, not just notes, a working solution. So she started coding. The public library 3 blocks from Marcy houses had computers. Old ones, slow ones, but functional. Maya had taught herself basic programming from library books and online tutorials back when she dreamed of building apps that might lift her family out of poverty. Now she put that knowledge to work. Every night for 3 weeks, Maya sat in the library until closing. She built a simulation of Brooklyn Memorial supply chain, fed in the data she'd collected, then designed an alternative system, one that reorganized categorization by usage frequency, implemented smart tracking, and automated the reorder processes that currently required 3 different employees. The results were beautiful. Her system didn't just fix the 18% loss. It improved overall efficiency by an additional 12%. Faster restocking times, fewer emergency shortages, better patient outcomes. Maya documented everything. Screenshots, data tables, a presentation that walked through the problem and solution in language even non-technical people could understand. On a Thursday night, 3 weeks and 6 days in her internship, she finished. She saved everything to a USB drive. No cloud storage, nothing that could be accessed remotely, and slipped it into her pocket. Tomorrow, she'd find a way to show Dr. Chun. Tomorrow, everything would change. She was right about that part, just not the way she expected. Maya arrived at the hospital early Friday morning, USB drive practically burning a hole in her pocket. The emergency department was quiet. Most staff didn't arrive until 7 a.m., and the interns rarely showed before 6:45. The supply closet was empty, or should have been. Kevin Morrison stood at Maya's workstation, her composition notebook open in his hands. "Interesting reading material," he said without looking up. "You know, for a kid who's supposed to be counting bandages, you've been awfully busy." Maya's blood went cold. "That's mine." "Is it?" Kevin flipped a page, his smile predatory. "See, I've been watching you too, Patel. Noticed you staying late, taking notes, disappearing to the library every night. Got curious." He tucked the composition book under his arm. "So, I did a little investigating. Had a friend in security let me into your workstation early." "Give it back." "I don't think I will." Kevin's smile widened. "You know what this looks like? Initiative. Problem solving. Strategic thinking. Exactly the kind of thing that impresses Dr. Chun and the hospital board." He stepped closer. "Too bad you won't be the one presenting it." Maya felt the floor tilt beneath her. "You can't." "Can I prove it's your work?" Kevin laughed. "Did you file any reports? Email any supervisors? Tell anyone what you were working on?" He paused. "No. Because you're not a team player, Patel. You're a kid with a chip on her shoulder who thinks she's smarter than everyone else." "I am smarter than you." The words came out before Maya could stop them. Kevin's face went purple. For a moment, she thought he might actually hit her. Instead, he laughed, an ugly sound with no humor in it. "Maybe you are," he said quietly. "But smart doesn't matter in medicine, Maya. Connections matter. Legacy matters. Knowing which doors open for you and which ones stay locked forever." He straightened his expensive scrubs. "I'm presenting your supply chain overhaul to the hospital board on Monday. Under my name. My research. My innovation." Kevin turned toward the door. "And there's nothing you can do about it." Maya stood frozen in the supply closet, watching her work. Her proof, her ticket to medical school, disappeared down the hallway in the hands of someone who'd never earned anything in his life. For a long moment, she couldn't move. Then her hand went to her pocket. The USB drive was still there. Kevin had taken the notes, the documentation. But the actual files, the simulation, the code, the working model, were on a drive Maya had never let out of her sight. Kevin didn't have proof. He had paper. Maya had the proof. The question was whether anyone would listen to a 15-year-old supply clerk over a Cornell pre-med student with connections. They tried to steal her work. They didn't realize she'd built it twice. Once on paper, once in code. If you've ever had someone try to take credit for your sweat, you know this feeling. Hit subscribe. Maya's not done yet. Kevin has the notes. Maya has the code. The board meeting is in 3 days. What happens next will determine whether Maya rises or falls. And the answer involves a projector, a photographic memory, and a surgeon who's about to learn the truth. The conference room on the 12th floor had windows that overlooked all of Brooklyn. Maya had never been this high in the hospital. Never seen the way the borough stretched beneath her like a living organism. Buildings and streets and people all connected in patterns she was only beginning to understand. She wasn't supposed to be here, but Dr. Sarah Chun had personally requested her presence. All interns attend the quarterly supply chain review, the email had said. No exceptions. Maya had spent the weekend preparing, not for a presentation she wasn't scheduled to give, but for a battle she knew was coming. Kevin had been strutting through the emergency department like someone who'd already won. He'd booked the presentation slot, had the graphics department create slides based on Maya's stolen notes, even practiced his pitch on the other interns who'd laughed at the right moments. What Kevin didn't know, what he couldn't know, was that the notes were incomplete. Maya had been careful, paranoid. The composition notebook contained concepts, outlines, ideas, but not the actual math, not the working code, not the proof that the system actually worked. And without the proof, the system was just theory. The conference room filled slowly. Hospital administrators in expensive suits, department heads with tablets and coffee, Nurses and technicians lining the walls because supply chain affected everyone. Dr. Sarah Chun sat at the head of the table, flanked by the hospital's CFO and chief operating officer. She caught Maya's eye as the girl slipped in and nodded once before returning her attention to the agenda. Kevin was scheduled third. Maya watched him set up, confidence radiating from every movement. The slides were polished, professional, the kind of presentation that said, "I belong here without having to prove it." "Ladies and gentlemen," Kevin began, "I'd like to present a comprehensive overhaul of our supply chain management, a project I've been developing over the past several weeks." He clicked to the first slide. Maya's diagram, stolen, redrawn, claimed, "Our current system is hemorrhaging efficiency. By my calculations, we're losing approximately 18% of our operational budget to supply chain failures alone." A murmur ran through the room. 18% was a number that demanded attention. "My proposed solution involves complete reorganization of our categorization protocols, combined with automated tracking and predictive reordering algorithms." Another slide. Another stolen concept. Sarah leaned forward. "Walk us through the implementation. How does your algorithm account for variable usage rates between departments?" Kevin blinked. The algorithm accounts for multiple variables: department size, patient volume, historical usage patterns. "I understand the categories," Sarah interrupted. "I'm asking about the mathematical model. Show me the formula." The silence stretched. Maya watched Kevin's confident mask flicker before snapping back into place. "The technical specifications are outlined in the appendix." "I've read the appendix." Sarah's voice went cold. "It's conceptual. I want the actual calculation. The usage coefficient. The predictive curve. The standard deviation parameters." Kevin's face went pale. The calculations are still being refined. You've been developing this for weeks, and you don't have the calculations?" The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. "Dr. Chun, I can assure you the math is sound. I'll do it." Every head turned. Maya stepped away from the wall, her heart hammering so loud she was sure everyone could hear it. But her voice came out steady. "The usage coefficient is determined by a weighted formula that accounts for department size, patient turnover rate, average procedure time, and historical demand variance." She moved toward the projector at the front of the room. "May I?" Sarah studied her for a long moment, then gestured to the equipment. "Show us." Maya pulled out her USB drive, plugged it into the laptop connected to the projector. Her simulation loaded on the screen, a 3D model of Brooklyn Memorial's entire supply chain, color-coded by efficiency levels. Most of the hospital glowed red and orange. Warning colors. "The current system categorizes supplies alphabetically by item name," Maya explained, navigating through a program. "That creates an average of 23 unnecessary searches per shift in the emergency department alone." She clicked to show her redesigned system. The hospital's representation shifted from red to green as her algorithm redistributed everything. "My system reorganizes by usage frequency and procedure clustering. High-use items are stored at point-of-care locations. Specialized equipment is grouped by medical procedure. The formula is..." Numbers flowed across the screen. Equations she'd run 1,000 times. Calculations she'd memorized because her father had always said, "The things you carry in your head, nobody can take away." Which reduces search time by 47% and eliminates supply shortages during critical procedures. She stepped back from the screen, the simulation running smoothly through scenarios, trauma codes, routine surgeries, emergency obstetrics. But the real innovation isn't the math. Maya turned to face the board. It's understanding that hospitals aren't just logistics problems. They're human systems. The nurse who always stocks extra gauze because she doesn't trust the supply closet. The surgeon who hoards suture kits. The tech who knows where everything really is, not where the computer says it should be. Maya's voice strengthened. "I didn't just map the inventory. I mapped the people. And I built a system that works with human behavior, not against it." Silence. Then Sarah Chin stood up. "How do you know all this?" "Because I counted every piece of gauze, every syringe, every 4 bag in this hospital," Maya replied. "Because I watched nurses waste time searching for equipment during emergencies. Because I ask questions and listen to the people everyone else ignores." She held Sarah's gaze. "You can learn a lot about a system when nobody thinks you're worth paying attention to. More silence. Then Sarah turned to Kevin, her expression arctic. The notes in your presentation. Where did you get them? Kevin's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. I found them. In the supply closet. I assumed they were general research. You assumed you could take a 15-year-old's work and pass it off as your own. Sarah's voice could have frozen water. Because you assumed nobody would believe her over you. Kevin looked around the room for allies. Found none. Dr. Chun, I can explain. You're dismissed. From this meeting. From this internship. From this hospital. The words landed like a guillotine. Your program placement is terminated effective immediately. Security will escort you out. Sarah's eyes swept the room. This meeting is adjourned. She turned to Maya. But you stay. We have a lot to discuss. The truth has a way of rising. Even when people try to bury it. Maya just proved that being underestimated is a superpower. If you've ever been counted out, this moment is for you. Hit like. Let the algorithm know this story matters. Kevin is gone. Sarah is listening. But this isn't the end. It's the beginning. 9 months changed everything. Maya stood at the window of Dr. Chen's office. Not her own office, not yet, but a space she'd earned the right to occupy, and watched the sun set over Brooklyn. The borough stretched beneath her like a promise kept. Buildings and streets she'd navigated on her father's old bicycle. Neighborhoods where she'd once run through rain, carrying insulin. Projects where her family had almost been erased. All of it visible now, from a height that had once seemed impossible. She was 16, still the youngest person in the hospital's medical internship program by years. Still the girl who delivered a baby on a sidewalk and saved a stranger at the cost of everything. But different. The name on her ID badge now read, Maya Patel, Medical Systems Analyst, Special Projects. A made-up title, Sarah had admitted, created specifically for Maya because no existing position captured what she could do. You see patterns in chaos, Sarah had told her after the board meeting. That's rare. That's valuable. And I'm not going to waste it by forcing you into boxes that were built for someone else. The supply chain system Maya had designed was now implemented across all 12 floors of Brooklyn Memorial. Efficiency had improved by 31%, better than her projections. The hospital had saved $4.2 million in the first quarter alone. Her paycheck had cleared last week. Maya still couldn't quite believe the number. But the money wasn't what mattered. Her family's new apartment was what mattered. It sat in a safe building in Crown Heights. Not the projects, not luxury, but solid working-class stability. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a kitchen with windows that let in morning light, a living room where Arjun could do homework without hearing sirens every 10 minutes. No more eviction notices. No more loan sharks. No more choosing between insulin and electricity. Maya had signed the lease herself. First thing she'd done with her first real paycheck was hire a social worker to help her mother navigate the rental process. The day they moved in, her mother had cried for 2 hours. You did this, she'd whispered, holding Maya so tight it hurt. My baby girl. You saved us. Maya had let herself cry too. Just for a minute. Just long enough to release 3 years of weight she'd been carrying since her father died. Now, standing in Sarah's office as Brooklyn turned gold in the sunset, Maya thought about how far she'd come. Not just in distance, though 9 months ago she'd been counting gauze in a supply closet, but in who she'd become. Her phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Delivery arriving at the hospital. Thought you'd want to handle this one personally. Maya frowned. She didn't deal with deliveries anymore. That had been Kevin's hazing tactic, not her actual job. But Sarah rarely did anything without purpose. A knock on the door. Come in, Maya called. The door opened and Maya's breath caught. Carlos Rivera stood in the doorway. Same tired eyes, same courier uniform. Now bearing the logo of Brooklyn Memorial's new in-house medical delivery service. He was holding a package and looking at Maya like he was seeing a ghost. Carlos had been Maya's supervisor at Brooklyn Medical Courier. The man who'd fired her via text. Who'd withheld her $200 payment. Who'd blacklisted her from every delivery service in the city. The man who'd been part of the system that had almost destroyed her family. Patel. Carlos's voice was rough. I mean, Ms. Patel. Maya stared at her former boss. The man who'd kicked her when she was down. She could feel the power in this moment. The ability to make him squirm, to remind him of his cruelty, to finally get revenge on someone who treated her like she was disposable. But that wasn't who Maya wanted to be. She thought about the baby on the sidewalk, the choice to help even when it cost everything. She thought about her father, who died caring for strangers because that's what good people did. Being good didn't have conditions. "How's the new job?" Maya asked. Carlos blinked. Whatever he'd expected, it wasn't small talk. It's better. Regular hours, benefits, health insurance. He shifted the package, awkwardly. "Look, Patel, Maya, I don't know what to say about what happened. What I did." "You did what the system taught you to do," Maya interrupted. "Squeeze the workers. Maximize profits, survive. That's not an excuse. But it's an explanation." She took the package, set it on the desk, and looked him in the eyes. "I'm building something different here. A system where people don't have to choose between doing the right thing and surviving. Where emergency medical deliveries don't depend on crushing teenage couriers." Maya extended her hand. "And I need people who understand why that matters. People who've been on the wrong side of the system and want to do better." Carlos stared at her hand for a long moment. Then he shook it. "Thank you," Carlos said quietly. "I mean it. Thank you for the second chance." "Don't thank me," Maya replied. "Just be better. That's all any of us can do. Be better than we were yesterday." Carlos nodded and left. Maya walked back to the window and looked out at Brooklyn again. Somewhere down there, on the streets she used to race through in the rain, another kid was running deliveries. Another teenager was skipping meals to help their family survive. Another young person was lying awake at night, wondering if the world would ever give them a fair shot. Maya couldn't save all of them, but she could build systems that were fairer, hire people who'd been overlooked, create pathways for kids who reminded her of herself. She could carry what she could carry, and teach others to do the same. Her phone buzzed again. This time a photo from her mother. Arjun sitting at their new kitchen table doing homework, smiling, healthy, his medical alert bracelet showing normal glucose levels. Maya smiled too. 9 months ago, she'd been a 15-year-old courier with nothing but impossible choices. Now she was building something that mattered. Not because the world had suddenly become fair, but because she decided to make it fairer. One delivery at a time. One system at a time. One second chance at a time. Every ending is a beginning. Maya started with nothing but a choice. To help, to sacrifice, to believe she was worth more than the world told her. If this story made you feel something, share it. Someone out there needs to know their moment is coming too. This is the end of Maya's story. But it's not the end. Subscribe and turn on notifications because the next story starts where this one leaves off, with someone invisible waiting for their chance to be seen. Will you be there when it happens?